It is also my pleasure now to welcome everybody on the live stream that is joining us from far and wide. I've seen already a few posts on Twitter, so welcome everybody. We'll start with the company presentations. And first up, we do have Tinka Resources, one of the largest undeveloped zinc projects in the world. They put out a PEA just at the end of February, and we have Graham Carman here joining us. The Commodity Discovery Fund owns about 9.9% of the company, and Graham, take it away. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Colin. Well, it's a pleasure to be in Amsterdam today. Thanks for the invitation, Willem. I was here a few years ago before COVID hit us. We've got a complete change of scene. We're going to be talking about polymetallic discovery down in Peru. Tinka's been working on Ayawilca for a few years now. The project's getting better and better, stronger and stronger. We're finding more and more metal in the ground. And it's a pleasure to be here today to talk to you about it. So Tinka, it's a Canadian listed company, listed on the Venture Exchange under the ticker code TK. We own the project 100%. Originally it was a silver-only exploration property, and zinc was found, zinc, tin and silver was found really a bit by chance along the way. And it's now one of the largest, certainly greenfield zinc discovery in Peru in the last 30 or possibly even 40 years. There's around 80 million tonnes of resources, indicated plus inferred resources. It'll be an underground mine, and we've drilled around 100 kilometres of drilling. So we've done a heck of a lot of drilling, and we're starting to move pretty seriously now towards development stage. We recently put out a PEA, just hot off the press, in February of this year. Really strong economics, 434 million NPV, using conservative metals prices. There's a diversified mix of commodities, dominantly zinc. 80% of the revenue would be zinc at those commodity prices that we use. But also, for the first time, we incorporated tin, and tin's a really exciting commodity. There's not a lot of deposits around the world either, and we think ultimately this will be a significant tin producer. Also important contributions, particularly from silver. There's still lots of potential to expand the project and for this deposit to continue to develop into a world-class deposit. And also there's two important strategic investors. Both of them are local mining companies down in Peru. There's a lot of interest in Ayawilca from both of these parties, and they've been strategic investors on our register for the last 3 or 4 years. Both those companies are very supportive of what we're doing. From the value proposition, we're trading at 0.1 times NAV, so a very compelling valuation at the moment. And we've got a great team of guys. I'm the leader of the team, a lot of experience down in Peru. We've got successful and an experienced management team behind us. So a little bit about zinc. What's it used for? Well, we call it the guardian of the green infrastructure. It sounds a bit sexy, I suppose, just trying to make zinc sound sexy anyway. It's trading at around $3,000 per tonne, so it's the lowest value of the commonly used base metals. But it's very important. It galvanises steel, prevents it from rusting, and there's increasing uses for zinc and green energy technologies. A lot of zinc goes into wind turbines, transmission towers, solar panels, infrastructure, and so on and so forth. Around 4 tonnes of zinc goes into one of those offshore wind turbines. So it is an important commodity, and it does have some uses for potential battery storage. There is some commercial zinc batteries in use. It's not a big player yet. It could be down the road. It's certainly a lot easier and cheaper to recycle zinc than it is lithium and some of those other battery metals. Tin, on the other hand, it's the most valuable of all the commonly used base metals, around $30,000 a tonne. And tin is used as a solder. It's that solder that's used in electrical circuits. So really a critical metal in every sense of the word. Silver, of course, precious metals and industrial uses, it's a fantastic, in fact, the best conductor of electricity, of all metals, is silver. So, highly versatile industrial metal, as well as, obviously a precious metal. Just back a little bit to zinc. That's our key commodity here at Ayawilca. It's all about the supply, really, in terms of supply-demand. The demand is expected to continue to increase with time. But on the supply side, there's a number of mines that are closing and mines that are reducing grade. And this is a slide from South 32, a major producer of zinc. It's an Australian company, and they're projecting a significant supply gap in 3 or 4 years' time. And there's 3 million tonnes by, I think that's 2024, is it? Oh, no, 20. Well, I guess we're in 2024. By 2030. So, a big gap and an ever-increasing gap as time goes on. So when Ayawilca's heading towards production, we expect that our project will be one of the world's important projects that fills that zinc supply gap. I'm going to show you some pictures. I can't show you a picture of me with the president of Peru, unfortunately, so I can't quite compete with Matthew on that one. But some nice pictures nonetheless. We're located in the Andes, on the Andes of Peru. This is central Peru. It's a world-class polymetallic belt. Zinc, lead, silver, copper mines. The northern end of the belt is Antamina, which is the giant deposit in this belt. But there's 30 or 40 mines of various sizes throughout central Peru. Now, relatively speaking, we have excellent infrastructure. There's a number of roads to our project. We're only 200 kilometres from Lima, 120 kilometres from the coast, mostly on bitumen sealed roads. We've got a power line that goes right over the top of the property, which is actually, there's a substation in construction, and we've already got pre-approved use for that substation. And also there's a smelter. There's a zinc smelter on the Peruvian coast there, just 200 kilometres just on the outskirts of Lima. So the infrastructure is really very good. This is kind of a busy slide, but there's two things I want you to focus on. One is the scale. This is a large-scale project, and it also has size in terms of metals contained. That scale bar is 500 metres, so the footprint of the project's approximately 2 kilometres by around a kilometre. It's divided up into a number of different types of deposits, which we name by area. There's around 3 million tonnes of contained zinc indicated and inferred in our deposit, which is a lot of zinc. Around 30 to 35 million ounces of silver, and around 110,000 tonnes of tin in a separate resource. So on this slide, the tin resource is separated, and it's highlighted by those grey bodies there. And for you guys who don't understand about the resources, well, indicated resources are where you have more dense drilling, and inferred resources are where there's less confidence on the drilling, so the drill spacing is a little wider. So this is my only geological slide, cross-section. How did this deposit form? There's a limestone highlighted in blue here, flat-dipping limestone, and we've got an impermeable cap of sandstone over the top. So we've had these hot metal-rich fluids which would come up faults, hit the limestone, and then run along that cap, which is provided by the sandstone. So we've got tin, which is formed deeper and closer to the conduit, closer to the feeder structure, and then outwards we've got zinc and silver forming, a kilometre or so further away. So that's how we envisage the formation of the deposit. Now, this is how we would see it mined. We've got, it'll be an underground mine using 3 declines from surface, 21-year mine life, so a long mine life, and still lots of potential to expand the additional resources. And I showed this right at the very beginning of the talk. We're at high elevations. We're at 4,200 metres elevation. That's our camp there that you can see in the middle of the picture. But quite flat up there. There's plenty of room for mine development, for the plant, for tailings. We're going to put our tailings on the right-hand side of the diagram there, up on the high plateau. It's going to be filtered tailings, so environmentally friendly tailings disposal. And the white dots are the outlines of the major deposits that we have at the project. So this is again just to give you an idea of the layout of the site. Plenty of flat area, very few inhabitants. It is community-owned land, but there are really only one or two very small families that live actually on the site itself. And I mentioned the power. You can see on that picture to the bottom left, the power lines is 220 kV power lines that run right over the top of the project. I mentioned the communities. We put a lot of emphasis on our relationships with the local communities. As I mentioned, that is community-owned land. The communities are 4 to 5 kilometres down the mountain, so they're not, we don't really interact with them on a day-to-day basis, but nonetheless, we employ people at camp. We employ a lot of the local people during our drill programs and the construction of drill platforms and so on and so forth. The bottom picture is our team down in Peru. We've got a fantastic Peruvian team, and I'd really like to thank my team for all the efforts and the advancement of the project in the last 2 or 3 years. Again, this is just one of the local communities. It's all about jobs for these guys. We're the largest employer around. During a drill program, we might hire 50 to 100 people. So it's really important for these people to get the opportunity to learn from us, to work with us. We of course learn from them. We have to provide them with all the safety equipment and gear which they really prize and look after. And it's really great to be working with these local communities. And we've got a really busy 12 months ahead. We're planning to start drilling in July or possibly August. We've got around 10 or 11,000 metres of drilling planned for this year. So there's going to be a lot of news flow. It's going to be infill drilling and some exploration drilling as well, and leading into a pre-feasibility study going into next year. And what we want to do is get this project permitted as quickly as possible so that it can be developed into a mine. We think that's really important. We've got fantastic support from our local strategic shareholders, and everyone is in line with this work program going forward. Now, I mentioned exploration opportunities. On the nearby property, project that we call Sylvia, we acquired this property from BHP a couple of years ago, and we were doing some exploration on this property, and we identified an undrilled target, copper and gold mineralisation bleeding out of the surface rocks in this valley, an area that's never been drilled. We've got some really high-grade copper and gold in skarn. Skarn is a limestone that's been mineralised by an intrusion that's come up. The Antamina deposit, for example, is a skarn type of deposit along the belt. So we're really excited by this. Very early days. We're looking to get this drill permit either late this year or early next year. We have this project in a separate Peruvian entity, so we've got options to deal with this. We may sell it, we could joint venture it, or we may even spin it out of Tinka. But we don't need to make those decisions just yet. But it's an exciting early stage exploration opportunity for us and our shareholders. Just to finalise here, corporate structure. I mentioned we're listed on the TSXV. Market cap is around 54 million Canadian dollars. The company has no debt. We've got around 6 million Canadian dollars in cash. Our top 4 shareholders own 70% of the stock, including management and friends. It's around 80% of the stock. So the float is really quite tight. And with that 80% of the stock very tightly held. I mentioned the management team. Myself, geologist, I've worked with majors and medium-sized companies as well as juniors. I've worked 30 years in Peru and know the country extremely well. I've got a really fantastic group of guys down in Peru, and with support office also in Vancouver, and we've got some big hitting directors on our board, representatives from our two strategic investors. So to finish with, why Tinka? Well, this deposit really is a globally significant polymetallic deposit. There's very few of these types of assets out there. We believe this will be a mine. It's a question of time. We're advancing it, adding value. We believe that Ayawilca is going to be a big value add for our shareholders. We've got a diversified mix of metals. It's predominantly zinc, but as you've seen, there's important contributions from tin and silver. We're targeting a development scenario. We want to de-risk the project and get it to the point where it can be permitted and built in 2 or 3 years' time. There's a lot of news flow coming up. Once we start drilling, there's going to be a heck of a lot of news flow, so there's some exciting times ahead. I mentioned the valuation. The company's trading at 0.1 times NAV, so it's very compelling for new investors coming in. And we've got a great management team and really good. All our guys put 100% effort in terms of advancing the project going forward. So this isn't quite the president of Peru, but it's what we have to do sometimes in Peru, get on the back of a horse to get out and visit some of these properties. Not Ayawilca, but at the moment that Sylvia copper gold project we've got to use a horse to get there. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to present. I'm going to be outside at a table later on during the break. Any questions? Be happy to take them.
Okay. Well done. Well done. Well, thank you, everybody. Do we have any questions for Graham? We heard. Yeah. Oh, Terence.
Graham, you have two strategic partners they are regional producers as well, and they're neighboring producers. In this market, what do you see? Do you see there's a risk of them making a move on you at these valuations, in a sense hindering your upside?
Let me repeat that real quick for the online audience as well. So Terence is asking, you have two strategic investors in the project. Are you worried of a takeover too early in this market?
It could happen. Am I concerned about it? Yes. We're working very hard to get our share price moving northwards. It could happen, but they, who knows what's going on in their thought process. I guess it's a question of timing. We've just got to keep pushing forward, and if it happened in the next 6 months or it happened in the next 2 years, is it a risk? Yes.
Follow up on that, Graham. Both of the companies, both Nexa and Buenaventura, mentioned Ayawilca as a future mine they want to develop.
Indeed.
In that presentation.
Indeed. In fact, at the BMO conference, Nexa has Ayawilca as its #1 zinc pipeline project.
That shows something.
It certainly shows something. We'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, we're pushing hard to get our share price up and get active, get news flow. The second half of this year is going to be really busy, so look forward to that.
Do you have any other questions? Because I have one for you as well. Because one way to create value is through the drill bit, and you will be drilling quite a bit.
We will be.
How much of that is infill versus maybe wildcat?
It's about 70-30.
Okay. And maybe explain what wildcat is. Sorry, I'm forest before the trees.
So infill drilling is where we're converting those inferred resources where the drill spacing is wide enough, is too wide to call it indicated. So it'll be increasing the density of drilling in certain areas. So that's infill. Exploration or wildcat drilling is drilling outside of the footprint of the drill spacing. So
making discoveries.
Making new discoveries. Exactly.
Fantastic. We have 30 seconds for one more question. Otherwise, Willem? Oh, back there. Sorry, I didn't see you.
The zinc is now mostly used for protecting metal. Can you repeat the question? With higher quality powder coatings, which can also make the same protection. It will be a direct poke. How do you say it?
Well, to summarize the question, like zinc is used in a lot of metal coating, for example, so it doesn't rust. Do you see something else replacing zinc in that regard?
I don't think there's anything that's going to overtake galvanisation in the short term. Perhaps we can have a conversation at the table about that. But at the moment, it's a key commodity to prevent steel from rusting. So, whilst we're going to continue to use iron, we're going to continue to galvanise.
Fantastic. Graham, we're out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you'll be outside.
Thank you.